Welcome to the Modernize or Die podcast, CFML News Edition, where we keep you up to date with everything going on in the CoalFusion community. We'll share the latest news on events, releases to engines, frameworks, libraries, and tools, as well as spotlighting quality content from the community. Welcome back to the Modernize or Die CFML News Edition podcast. And today, it's Salt and Pepper. We got Andrew and myself. Morning, Andrew.
Thanks, Gavin. Yeah, so before we came on the show, we were joking around. I said, man, Gavin, your hair's so dark and my hair's so gray. I should just wear gray shirts while you have the black shirt on. And I didn't think you were going to call me out in public.
Sorry, couldn't
but hey,
resist.
Glad to be here today.
Yep.
Making stuff fixed.
Yeah, so August 20th, again, another good week in CoalFusion. We got lots of good content out here today. I'm surprised it was so much. You guys are keeping us busy, which is a good thing. So last week, we had another release of the Coalbox framework. Do you see that one, Andrew?
Yeah, I do. Coalbox 5.6.0 was released. And so apparently not only just Coalbox, but Wirebox, Cashbox, and Logbox all as well. And apparently there's a bunch of performance updates to it. And the quick thing to remember, update Coalbox, bam, get it installed. There's been 5 bug fixes and 2 features and 6 improvements. And tell us what they are, Gavin. Any idea?
No,
No?
I'll have to go look them up. But yeah, I know they're working on lots of little things, some verb stuff for routing and some other bits and pieces like that. But I see a few people already commenting in the Box channel that they've been using it. We've already found one little thing that we're going to do a patch release here pretty soon for. So, but yeah, another good release last week. So again, Coalbox keeps ticking away. So
Yeah.
that sounds pretty good.
Luis has been busy too it's been a year or so now, right? In this next item here, the Learn Modern CoalFusion in 100 minutes.
Yep.
When did he actually start working on that? I know it's been a brainchild of his for a while.
I think he forked it from somebody, and it was forked. They got the idea off of a Ruby one, and they had their own version, but it was kind of out of date. And so he forked it and has been working on it probably for about a year. You're probably right. We like to use this in our team, and we give it to our clients and everything. So he's released this modern CoalFusion CFML in 100 minutes, and it's a great book. The cool thing about it is it's available online for free. But we do have a digital version you can pay and download, and there's also a printable version. If you want to get the printed version, you can pay, and we'll ship you a printed copy as well. So I know a few people have already bought the book to say thanks. Thanks for everything that Ortus does, and they said even though they can get it online, they still wanted to support us and bought the book. So we thank you. I think there was actually one of our Patreon supporters who's already supporting us, but I think that was Don Bellinger. But anyway, so thank you guys for those of you who have either shared the word or spread the love. We appreciate it, and again, it's available free online, so go check it out. And if you want to get a digital copy or a hardcover copy or a printed copy, should I say? You can go ahead and do that too, and that's on the CoalFusion blog on ortussolutions.com.
All right. Yeah. And next on the agenda, we have something here from my boss, Sam Knowlton. It is the Soapbox edition of this podcast. Well, it's not this podcast, but it's the Modernize or Die podcast, Soapbox edition, was released. And Sam's on there talking about the title is Betting the Business on Modern CFML. And while I have an idea as to what he's talking about, since I worked with him, Gavin, you were the one that did the interview. Do you have like a good teaser you want to give the folks if they have not heard about or listened to the Soapbox podcast?
Yeah, I think it was really good. For those who were into the box, you would have seen Sam on stage. He had a few slides and a short little time on there. So we decided to give him a little more to talk about his story because obviously his company's been working with CoalFusion a long time. They've got a 17-year-old app and a 12-year-old app. And Andrew's actually working with InLeak now and doing a lot of work there. And so he talked about some of those experiences, and how basically programming and development wasn't fun. And now with modern tools and using Coalbox and getting on the the Coalbox train with using modules like Quick and QB have really helped them, deliver amazing products to their customers, but also made development fun again. And so he talked about how he's slowly migrating these two enterprise apps, so people don't have to go whole hog to get the most out of it. You can just use the modules and the features you need to, and upgrade as you go. So I think it was a pretty good story. It's a good guy to talk to, and entertaining as well. So yeah, so I recommend everyone should definitely check it out.
Good deal. And hang on, the webinar. This one right here, I did not attend.
What's this week?
CBORM. What is coming up? Okay, that's why I don't know about it. I'm like, where did this come in at? It was at the bottom of the page here. My bad. Okay, sorry guys, brain fart here. So coming up this week, there is a webinar on CBORM, and it's called Enjoyed ColdFusion ORM Again. So I'm gonna have to first learn to enjoy ColdFusion ORM, then I'll come to this webinar, or what?
Yeah, well, I mean,
I'm just kidding.
CBORM is good because it helps to fill in the gaps and make some of the trickier pieces of ORM a little easier. So it's a great little toolbox for ORM. It does a whole lot of fancy stuff. It injects a bunch of helpers into your objects to make things easier. So CBORM 2.0 was just released. Luis did a lot of work to try and get everything running, because if you didn't know, different versions of ColdFusion run different engines of Hibernate, and the same thing with Lucy. So depending on which engine you're on, ORM works very differently under the covers. So we had to do a lot of work to get it up and running. So CBORM 2.0 was released. I think we announced it last week. So this webinar is sort of just a walkthrough and shows you a little bit about CBORM, but also some of the changes and how it works with the latest Lucy 5 and CF Adobe 2018. And so Luis is going to be doing this webinar on Friday, 11 Central Time. So August 23rd. There's going to be a link in the show notes where you can go and register. If you want to go to the Ortus Solutions website, you can go to Events Webinars. You can see our last one on ForgeBox, and also you'll see this and how you can register for this one too. So.
All right, cool. And before Luis pulls the plug on me or anything, I just want to make sure that was a little quick jab at me enjoying ColdFusion ORM to begin with, not the CB ORM module.
It's all good.
That. Good deal.
It's all good.
It's funny.
Yeah.
I've got bit once by ColdFusion ORM, which is probably the reason that CBORM is written, and it's just been hard for me to go back, honestly. But that's a different story. So, Adobe CF Summit is around the corner, right? Like, it's getting closer. We've been talking about it for a year now, so it's got to be around the corner, right?
Yep, exactly. It's just over a month away. The early bird specials are still there. So I'm not sure if they're ever going to put their prices up, but if you do get them now, the conference pass is only $99. If you go to any of the workshops, the pre-conference workshops, it's $348 for the conference workshop, and that unless you're doing the certificate program. So that's $498 for the Adobe Specialist program, and where you get a certification if you pass it. And I actually spoke with Alicia a little bit this last week, and she said that people should know that the Specialist program, you basically have about 20 hours of video content you'll have to sort of consume during September before you get to the classroom session on September 30th. The in-person workshop will be a review of the materials and include an exam at the end. Space is limited on that class as well as the other pre-conference workshops. So if you guys want to get on those, jump on them pretty soon here, because they are limited. And those prices,
right,
like say, who knows when they're going to go up.
Quite a bit of work to do.
Yeah, you don't want to wait too long if you got 20 hours to get through. So, and you might actually see me if you go into the Adobe Specialist program, because I might be a TA. So some of the speakers invited to TA. So I said, sounds good. So I might be out there. But again, CF Summit, the pre-conference is on September 30th, and then the conference is October 1st and 2nd. In the previous weeks, we talked about all the speakers. There's a lot of great speakers there. All the sessions are online, the timeline, the schedule's there, so you can go figure out which sessions you want to go to, which ones you won't be able to make it to. So go check that on the website, cfsummit.adobeevents.com/speakers. But
All right.
yep, and then we already mentioned the Specialist program, but there's also some other pre-conference workshops as well. Do you want to tell us about them, Andrew?
I think I may have froze.
The three of them that we have announced, one is Hands-on Security Workshop with Pete Freitag. You've been to that one before?
I have, but I don't know if you can hear me. I think I have some internet trouble.
Yeah,
so the one on internet security, so you heard all my goofiness. Sorry. The one on internet security, yes. I did attend part of it. I actually was not invited. I just sat down for a minute before I realized, I don't belong here, because I just showed up the day early. But I did catch part of it, and I have heard this same one from Pete somewhere else at the old CF Objective. So very good session. Man, it'll scare the pants off of you. But it does. It's good. It's not in a bad way. It's we've all have probably coded with things with vulnerabilities, and it just he shows you some of the ways that hackers could hack you, and how to protect yourself. So really good session.
Yep. And then Charlie Earhart is doing another session on going 0 to 60 with Docker and ColdFusion images. We have a blog post where he actually talks a little more about his session that he's speaking at the conference, as well as the pre-conference workshop later on in the blog. So check that one out there. And then the Adobe team is also doing a performance monitoring tool set. One of the big Adobe 2018 features is the monitoring tool set. So they'll go into more detail about that and how to use it. So good to know. And then, of course, that's before the conference, is the pre-conference on the 30th. After the conference, you get to come hang out with Ortus Solutions, as we have 2 days of training with 2 different workshops to choose from, all in the nice, luxurious tower suites. So again, space is limited for these as well. We only have a small number. We have about 10 people per workshop for these. Myself and Eric Peterson are going to do the Coalbox 0 to Hero training, which is a popular one we've been doing at the last few conferences. And the Coalbox 0 to Superhero API edition is with Luis and Brad. So 2 great workshops, worth the money, worth networking, and all the other great experiences from them. Definitely recommend you go there. That's how we met Andrew. That's how I met Ortus in the first place. So it's a great experience.
Y'all talk about that last week.
Yep, exactly. Yeah. So the workshops are great content. You get the one-on-one or at least 5-on-1 attention. We might even have some helpers there too. So great content. If you got any questions about the content, reach out to us. And if you listen to the podcast, you can get a 10% discount by using the code podcast10.
Podcast 10, and there is no there is no podcast 100. We already went through that as well. But yeah, so I did meet you guys there, and just let anybody know, or everybody know who hasn't attended one of the workshops, you guys also provide like a Slack channel for the training that you guys are communicating with inside of the session, right? But also that channel kind of remains open for anybody to ask questions, and kind of keep that channel of communication open, that hey, yeah, this guy attended the training workshop. If I've got 5-10 minutes to answer the question, I'm gonna be glad to help out. So it kind of helps get your feet wet into meet some other people that can help you networking online. So it's great.
And if Vegas is too far away there. Yep. And if Vegas is too far away from you guys, we also have Luis Mahano going to do a 2-day boot camp in Bangalore. And again, the podcast code is good. Podcast 10 discount code will work there as well. That's October 16th and 17th. And he just dropped the prices last week. So the prices there is more the region-specific pricing. So we made them more affordable. So it's $199 for 2 days now, and then if you do some group discounts, you can get them for $99 each. So if you got a few people in your company, or you're going to send your whole team, you can save some good chunk of money there and get some great training from Luis himself.
Yeah, good deal. So you got good pricing and still the 10% discount by using Podcast 10. Saying you heard it here. And also right after that, you guys are going to be in
Germany.
Germany.
Well, not me.
That's
I'm not
right.
going.
The 17th and 18th. You're not going. You're right. So Brad's going.
Yep. Brad and Eric
Eric's
and
going.
Jorge will be there.
Jorge. Luis is going to be tied up.
Yep.
In India, remember? Day before. So he's not going to make it.
Yep. So again, yep, that's correct. So Eric and Jorge and Brad are all speaking at the conference, and then we have some training as well before the conference. So Eric is going to be doing a session on Rest Easy at Night with Testbox BDD, and Brad will be doing the Hero to Superhero API REST Edition, and that is based on the same one we'll be doing at Vegas. So it's a good advanced one. You see stuff like JWTs. You'll see some of the API modules and a lot more in depth than the Coalbox Zero to Hero. So that's a great session, and Brad will be doing that one. So again, that'll be before the conference this time. So this is the 15th and 16th for the training for there. So just so you guys know there. So with that said, we're at the end of the news. So now it's time for blogs, tweets, videos, podcasts, and whatever else of the week. So
and whatever else.
Yep.
Yeah, we do have Coalbox 5.6 released, which we mentioned earlier in the show. And I do have a note here from John in our chat, said update Coalbox, says no outdated dependencies. Well, hopefully that means you're on the latest version, or I don't know.
Yep, we'll have to look into that.
Yeah, we'll look into that and let you know something. But also, another blog we have out there is what we mentioned earlier about the Learn CFML, Learn Modern CoalFusion in 100 Minutes digital download release. This is a news release letting you know you can go download it. And,
and then we got the links for the Modernize or Die, the podcast as well. So we put those in there just so it's easy to find in the show notes, no matter where you look for them. But
yeah, y'all can go watch that. Watch my boss and check and see if he actually trash talks me before I do, because I haven't seen that yet. So I'm gonna go check. And he's on vacation, so I can say that because I know he's not watching today. I'll just cheer from it next week.
Yeah, but you can watch that on YouTube or watch it on the soapbox.modernize.io website as well. But let's get to some new content here. So Charlie Earhart, CF 2020 to offer still better deployment on Docker Cloud. So he wrote a blog post here just summarizing some of the key points. And actually, it was actually part of the CF Alive podcast. So TerraTech interviewed Ahish Dag. I guess he's one of the director of engineering for CoalFusion, and so TerraTech did a podcast. If you want to actually watch the podcast or listen to the podcast or watch the video version of the podcast, you can get that from the TerraTech URL. And then Charlie, what he did was broke it down and sort of went into a little more detail and explained some of the items discussed in that there. So that's sort of a double whammy right there for you. So it talks about some of the big changes, because I don't know if you guys have heard, but the Adobe CF 2020 has got a lot of crazy changes. So they're really going to do a lot more work on the modularity of the engine, looking at the size of the installers and the containers, working on their startup time, and looking at licensing with Docker is a big deal, and they're working on that. And then they're going to be doing stuff to do with logging, monitoring, and all that from containers, because they're actually going to tie into AWS and Azure. So they're going to make it easy for those of you who want to use Azure and AWS to work with CoalFusion. So they're going to tie into a lot of their services, because AF 2020 is all about the cloud. So
nice.
So,
looks very interesting.
Yep.
Yeah, for sure. Also, we have here, not to go backtracking too much, but since that's kind of what I do, we're going to do it. If you're planning on attending CF Camp and haven't thought about going, or maybe have or whatever, Lucy had tweeted that that you can become a member of Lucy and your company receives a 20% discount on tickets to CF Camp. So if you can con your company into becoming a Lucy, not con, that's the bad word to say. You can convince them. It was short for convince, right? Convince them, right? We're going to convince them to join Lucy open source. You can get a 20% discount. That was a tweet we had go out.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty
Gavin,
neat.
save me. Save me, Kevin. Save me. There we are. Lost my spot.
No problem.
All right.
And,
so
Fusion Reactor tweeted again. So we talked about their Adobe CF sale, and that's coming to an end here. So if you want to jump on that, please do. If you need some licenses, get them at a discounted rate through Fusion Reactor. Great company, great product. They support the community, so we should support them too. So if you're going to buy some licenses, do it through them. Give them a little kickback and say thank you. But they also released something else too.
Yeah, this here is very interesting for me. This here is the ColdFusion class checker that they released, and it actually allows you to check your jars and things like that for some invalid stuff. It's actually, wow.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting because when CoalFusion doesn't shut down properly, sometimes the class files get corrupted, and so I guess when Windows, if you're using Windows, Windows doesn't update, a lot of times it doesn't shut down services properly, so it'll mess up your class files and then basically mess them up. And so this tool allows you to go find the corrupt ones, and then you can look at fixing them, clearing the template cache or whatever. And I've run into some weird issues in the past before where something ran out of disk space or whatever, and then they didn't have room to write the class properly to the disk, and then it got corrupted. And you get these weird errors. You have no idea what they are. Clearing the template cache fixes it, but you don't know why. But so
don't know why. Pretty cool. You don't know the underlying error.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's almost like having a handler call a service function that calls another service that doesn't have a directory read output and only requires return. Just trace it down the rabbit hole, right?
Yep. And that's the weird thing is those class errors, they just seem to be the weirdest errors. They're just tough to find.
Yeah, they get hidden and obscure. So that'll be interesting to get that. I'm actually kind of excited to see that in action. It's going to be nice. So. Also, Charlie has released another blog about all the CF updates. Let's see, one CF 2018 and 2016. So I would definitely encourage everyone to. I'm sure they have like a follow thing on the blogs if you're looking at the Adobe blogs and all, to where you can follow Charlie, because if there's any security updates going out as well, you're going to hear it from him and Pete. They're going to both give you good tips and tricks on how to get it updated. But what do we have here? What was this one about, Gavin?
So it's basically talking about how they have a release notes page, and it summarizes all the key changes across multiple engines. So if you're using 2018 and 2016, this one page actually has all the updates together. So some people didn't know about that. It was just kind of interesting. So it just talks about that and a couple other little tips, but yeah, just again, good things to know. And it looks like James Moberg's been busy again. He's tweeting a lot lately, I've noticed, and he looks like he's got a CFML script for checking SSL's expiration.
Yeah, he's released a script here. You can actually grab it on the GitHub, and you'll have all the links here on the show notes. But looks like it's using the Java, direct Java connectivity to get the host, and then from there make a socket connection and get into cert. So interesting. Get the cert data. Get peer
That's
certificates.
Cool. Yeah, cool. I mean, a lot more people are using Let's Encrypt and everything where you order renewals and stuff. But for those of you who haven't seen it, sometimes those renewals don't go as expected. And if you assume...
Well, I don't know if any other developers have done this before, but in my first job as a developer, essentially we have our own initial content management system, but just for web hosting, essentially, and checking renewal dates of the .com names and this and that. And we wrote a lot of that stuff in ColdFusion because that's what we knew how to do. It's like, well, how else do you get domain registration? Well, we write ColdFusion, so we use that. So this would probably be a good little tool for somebody else who's got their own ColdFusion app that they need monitor their own stuff. So I like it.
Yep. And then Ben Adele's been busy again, of course. So he had a few blog posts this last week. One of them was an interesting one. It was basically just an experiment. He admitted, don't go and use this in production. So, of course, a few you will. But he was just looking at how to upgrade a built-in function to be a first-class citizen. So, with closures and everything, a lot of UDFs, user-defined functions that you create, you can pass them into different, different functions, and they can be used. But you can't do that with built-ins in Lucy. So if you want to use the trim and pass the trim function in somewhere, it won't work. So he was just experimenting and used a couple of interesting features to get something like a built-in function and basically make it so you could pass it through using evaluate and a few other things to try and get it working. So it was just interesting. So if you guys want to look at that, so that was a good blog post. But he was also looking at using user-defined functions as an extension for built-in functions. So I thought this was pretty cool. With Lucy, you can build extensions, and then you can write them in ColdFusion. So if you want to have your own function be available everywhere, you can basically write your own little extension that will install a function. And now in his example, he used is truthy, is falsy. So he wrote his own function for that. So it's kind of neat. If you have a certain business logic that you want to have in every single app that you're running, you could basically build an extension and add that. I know there's some funny ones on there too. There's a beer one. It's like a beer map or something. They have a few weird extensions they just have in there just for fun. But there's also a lot of great extensions out there, like the CF spreadsheet and everything else. So shows you how to build an extension for Lucy. So that was a pretty neat one as well. And another one he was talking about using S3 URLs. So when you get signed URLs from S3, basically, there's a performance hit whenever you do that because it's generating them. So he was looking at storing them in Redis and sort of comparing them. So it was pretty interesting just to see that little experiment of his as well. So I like those types of little, mental experiments for the stuff, and it's fun, It's good to see people having fun with it and then sharing what they find.
Yeah, for sure. And we do appreciate you guys sharing. Good seeing you back on the post there, Ben. Well, I guess you've been, but welcome back.
Yep.
Also, Michael Bourne. We're going to just start writing a book about the Bourne something. And we need to. He's already got the content for it, so we can just make some awesome story about this developer upstate New York, which I found out lives in upstate New York, by the way.
Oh, cool.
And for some reason, I should have already known that because I've already met him, but I have a bad memory, so I apologize. But anyway, he's got a post out about localizing dates in SQL Server, and he shows how he's you can receive time zones from MS SQL, from MS SQL, shows you how that's done there, as well as some UTC offsets for the current time zones. Just easy ways of querying things, and a quick little function there you made called switch offset, which just kind of, I guess, does exactly what it says. Switches the offset around. So
yeah, which is
what
interesting.
You're storing versus what you're expecting.
Yeah, time zones are never fun.
It's a little different. So. No, there's always a 100 way. Well, there's not really 100 ways, but there's different ways of doing everything. This is just one of them. So.
Yep. And Evagoras also had another blog post. He's been doing a lot of work with QB lately. So he was looking at what happens when QB tries to figure out what SQL type you actually need, but sometimes gets it wrong. So it's really good at guessing, but if it does get it wrong, he was looking at ways to basically override it. So I thought that was pretty neat. So he he looked at different ways to infer it and override it. So another good blog post. He's been doing a lot of work with QB, and these blog posts are really cool. So I'm enjoying them.
Yeah. And I need to look on this here too. Okay, so I was even thinking with on Quick. So Quick uses QB, and I always get confused. I know on Quick there's a way that we define the model, and as we're defining it, we tell it the specific type, whether we're going to do the SQL Varicare. Yeah, here we go. Yeah, and Eric just helped me out on the QB side. Thank you. You can just pass a CF query param struct to it, and that's pretty much how you could also define, the ID types or what have you that you're selecting. So that might be a good follow-up too with Evan. So thank you. And we're also going to be in touch, let you know about that as well. And that's partly my fault, probably because the docs were written very, very early on in the evolution of QB. And we need to get some more time on there and pull that information out. So thank you, Eric, for hanging in the chat there and bailing me out once again. You're the man.
Yep. And then Ben Adele had another blog post, but this was different. So he didn't dive into some complex problem and pull it apart, like he usually does. This was actually more of a, philosophical post, basically. So I already talked to a client this week, and they mentioned reading it, and they thought it was pretty interesting. But it's called The Magic of Thinking Small, Embracing Limitations as a Strength. And so basically they're saying as a small team, you can't solve everything. You can't plan for the world. And, you should probably be smart about what you plan for and just sort of worry about what's right in front of you. And that's what he says. As a natural rule, we're forced to think about and solve only the problems that are right in front of us. So, as they say, premature optimization is bad. Premature planning can get, a little out of hand too if you're trying to plan for end of the world and you're not quite there yet. So it was an interesting post, and he had referenced a few other articles and some books, and so it's a good one. So again, if you want to see Ben Adele not talking spaced code, there you go. So
or puppies.
Yeah, that too.
All right, and so what else we have here?
So Charlie Earhart, like I said, he finally announced that he's actually speaking at CF Summit and doing the workshop too. So we announced it a couple weeks back, but he's got a blog post talking about what he'll cover in the 1 hour session he's doing. It's part of the conference, and also the 1 day pre-conference session. So if you want to find out more about what he's going to talk about and if you should go to his pre-conference or not, this is a great blog post for that. And that's available on careheart.org, which is his website. So again, the show notes will have all these links. And then I got to plug Brian Class again because he just retweeted about the Soapbox Edition interview we did. So we mentioned that last week as well. But if you need a crash course on what AWS can do for your CFML applications, check out the Modernize or Die podcast where he talks about exactly that. And he links to the YouTube video.
Yeah, that was a very good podcast there. He's a very good speaker. I can sit there and listen to him, and stay in tune. My ADD kind of kicks me out, but Brian, you kept my attention, man. Good job.
Yeah, I love talking to Brian. He's got so much great stuff going on. He's a good guy, and he knows his stuff. And so, yeah, I'm always intrigued to see what he's working on or doing. And his blog series that he had, those 16 blog posts on the AWS step functions, was pretty awesome. If you guys haven't read that, check out his website as well. And then we had mentioned Ray Camden. He's still blogging a lot, but these days he does a lot more Vue.js stuff, which I still find interesting. But, this is CFML news, so he actually posted something which is a little more relevant to us. So my thoughts on documentation. So he says, I like this quote too. While my degree was in English, my focus in college was technical writing. I've written over 6,000 blog posts and worked on about 15 books. I'm not trying to brag about my ability, which, trust me, can always be use the skill of an editor, but provide some context to why. So anyway, so basically he just talks about, he's got some experience, and this is what he's telling everybody about technical writing. And this is pretty funny because it's true. He's written a lot of books and he's written a lot of blog posts. And so he's worked for a lot of great companies. And yeah, so he talks about what makes some good documentation, what's bad, what does he expect, and, what people should do. And the gist of it is, what? Documentation is a required level for a project. Don't get away with no documentation. You won't get away with it. So even for your own little projects, document things. And I agree. Work with Ortus, documentation is king. And yeah, we always need to get more documentation out there. And it's no matter how much you put out there, like QB documentation, right? There's always more you can do. So,
Yep. There's always more. And and Eric actually, he had told me that that is in the documentations, but obviously now we probably need to make it its own page with big letters. So that falls right in the line with that. That's why documentation is so good. So I look forward to reading that and taking some tips from him.
One of the things that Ray actually said, though, was, too much documentation isn't always a good thing. If you can have too much, it's got to be focused. It's got to be, it's got to make sense. It's got to be searchable. Like a getting started guide with 300 pages on the history of the product doesn't make sense. Like you got to get up and running quickly and stuff like that. So it did make a lot of good sense. So. But a few more blog posts. I said there was a lot this week, guys. You guys have been busy. So there was.
I'm going to let you finish out those blog posts, Gavin. I lost a contact here. Man, I cannot see that, John. Like it just happened like a few minutes ago.
No problem. So we have another blog post here. Prevent concurrent logins using CF Login. I guess in Adobe CF11, Adobe added this feature, and I always forget who's the alias Poyorak. I always forget who that is. But
John Wish.
John Wish. Okay, yep.
Wish. Yeah.
Yeah. So he posted about that, and but anyway, it's kind of interesting that it basically prevents other logins. So like it allows, restricts the login of an account to one device, and it's kind of interesting. So I didn't know about that either. Some people are still using CF Login. A lot of people have rewritten their own, but just an interesting little blog post. And then Michael Bourne also has another blog post on form processing in CF Script Part 3. So talking about sending email notifications and different ways to do that. So it's building on that series he has about form validation and sending. So a great little blog post there too. And then we do have one job opportunity pop up new. So there's a full-time position in Omaha, and that is Senior Market Sales Incorporated. So if you guys are a ColdFusion programmer with real-world experience building RESTful APIs using Coalbox, then this might be the job for you. So if you guys are in Omaha, great little Coalbox job there. So go check that out. And again, this is from getcfmljobs.com. And there's a lot in India as well. There's a lot of blog posts. Posts for everything, to be honest. They're all over the place.
Yeah, there's definitely some opportunities out there. I had seen a tweet, might have been yesterday. Somebody wrote a blog post about ColdFusion being dead, right? And you probably saw it the other day. And I decided I wanted to look and be like, dude, there are so many job opportunities out there for quality ColdFusion developers that if you think just writing Python the rest of your life is going to be what you need to do to survive, do it, man. But I'm telling you guys, there is a lot of opportunity as a ColdFusion developer. It's definitely a way of standing out,
Yep, for sure.
So that's just my little soapbox. Sorry about that. I didn't mean to get off on that little tangent.
No, for sure.
At any rate, that will bring us to something that I can talk about and not have to read too much of, as the ForgeBox module of the week. And this one right here is going to be ngrok. It's the command box ngrok. And so if
did
you're
you show me
the,
this one?
Probably.
Yeah, I think you did.
Like long time ago. And basically what it does, so you'll initially do a box install box-ngrok, right? And it'll reload your shell, best I remember. But then you can do like, I think it's a server share command, right? And then what it'll do is basically open up a tunnel with you to to the ngrok server, get you basically a dynamic URL that you can hand over to a client, or you can look at on your cell phone, if you're doing mobile app development, and it ports everything through from the outside to your existing running command box server. So that's it, right? I mean, that's awesome. It's great if you just
simple
need to quickly
too.
share something.
Yeah, and it's so simple. You install it, server share, and away you go. And then, yeah, that's what me and Andrew did. We were working on a couple of projects that weren't even on staging servers yet. They're just like proof of concepts. You just want to share it real quick. You don't want to have to go throw it up on a server. Server share, give him the link, and he can check it out on my local machine. When I shut it down, it's dead, and away you go. So it's pretty neat. And you can use nggrok without it, but it does all the hard work for you, and it's a pretty cool little function. And that's the great thing about ForgeBox, right? There's a whole bunch of crazy cool stuff out there. Sure, you can do it yourself, but hey, within a minute you're up and running. You've got your own nggrok tunnel. Easy as that. So, and again,
I believe what we were doing was one of us was building an API, and then one of us had the local Vue app.
Yep.
And then as we were communicating, doing peer share, peer coding, whatever we were doing, you make a change, we test it, make a change, test it, and we worked through the app that way. It just took a day to iron out any little details. So that's why it was good for us. It was quick and easy, and it, did the job.
Yep, exactly. So cool little tool, command box nggrok, and you can do a box install box-nggrok to get up and running with that. So pretty cool. And that was last updated on my birthday last year, so even better.
Oh, happy birthday last year, June 12th.
Yep. So this week, the VS Code hint, tip, and trick of the week, we're going to look at better comments. So better comments is a pretty cool little one. I'm going to take you over to screen share real quick to see that. Let's see if that works. So what it does is it allows you to basically put little things in your comments, and it colors them automatically to make them stand out. So if you have a to-do that makes them orange, if you use like a question mark, it makes them blue, a little exclamation point makes them red, so you can let people know don't use them, etc. So just little things in your comments that just help stand out. So I thought it was pretty neat. Again, just a little teeny tiny extension, but just adds a little life to your code, makes them stand out a little bit more, give you a little more function. And I use the to-do module already. I think we might have mentioned that one already, but the to-do one is pretty neat too, where it basically, registers all your to-dos. But we'll save that for another day. But better comments, again, just makes it easy. And you see the one on line 23 there, that's actually commented out. So that line of code is actually like completely gone. It's grayed out like it's gone. So it's kind of neat. So lots of little ways to, it's got the little strike through and everything. So it's a pretty cool little feature there. So again, that's better comments, and that's actually by Aaron Bond. It's had almost 1 million downloads, so pretty neat. But yeah, so another cool little tool. So with that being said, we're on to our Patreon supporters. So
Patreon.
Again, a lot of great supporters here. Ortussolutions.com. We actually have a page there. You can go check out all the supporters, and that is available under About Us sponsors. So we have our bigger sponsors, but also our Patreon sponsors listed there too. So again, well, thank you guys. Andrew, Gary,
you want to do the rundown? You going to do it?
Yep. Joseph, Laxma, Richard, John, Kyle, Don, Samuel, David, Yogesh, Stephen, Dan, Jeremy, Brian, Didier, Scott, Jordan, Matthew, and So
man, that was so smart just to do the first names. Who finally thought of that?
I do the first name sometimes. I'll do both sometimes as well. But again, thanks everybody. It's been a big help to have your support. All the support from our Patreon goes straight to our open source products. So we really appreciate it there. Again, if you guys have any blog posts or anything else you want to spotlight, you got any news that you think should be newsworthy and want to put it up on here, please let us know for that. But we did have a question here from John Wilson.
John Wilson asked, what's the best CF extension for VS Code? And that could probably be an open-ended question, but there's two primary CoalFusion tag extensions out there. I'm kind of.
And we had that a couple weeks back, but let me look it up real quick here because I keep track of the.
And then our
keep
show
track
notes,
of them
we
here.
should have that.
Yep. So let me go. I got to keep track of all the ones we go through. So I think it was a couple weeks back. Yep, well, it's the CFML package. So if you search CFML, and Kama-sama K is the one that I use. That one is probably the best one there. It has, a lot of good stuff in there. It uses the Sublime Text CFML for inspiration. It has some of the CF Docs stuff as well. So there's a lot of stuff built into it. But there's two. That one is 5 stars, had over 30,000 downloads, I think, last time I looked at it. I would definitely recommend using that one. So that one we spotlighted on July 23rd. Probably should have done that one first since it is the CFML news. You'd think if you're doing VS Code, you'd want to be able to use CFML. But check that one out. Go from there.
And there's also a VS Code -Coalbox if you do any Coalbox developing. It just kind of helps you with some boilerplate stuff and just like the CFML templating one does. So it just kind of helps you along. So check both of those out. And
for sure.
I guess that's a wrap.
Yep. Thanks, everybody. And let us know if you got anything you want us to spotlight. Make sure you get your tickets for these conferences. Sign up for those workshops before they run out of space. And next one coming up is Vegas. So hopefully we'll see you there. You're going to be there, right, Andrew?
I'm going to be in Vegas. Yes, sir. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to attend the Ortus workshops or not, but I'm definitely going to be there for the conference. So hope to see you guys there.
Have a good one, everyone. See you next week. Thank you.
Bye.
Show notes for this episode can be found at cfmlnews.modernize.io, where you can also subscribe to your favorite podcast player like Spotify or iTunes. We also have the link to YouTube to find more videos just like this. The music used in this podcast is under a royalty-free license from Sound.com and Blue Tree Audio.